in a very erratic state between using and trying to run from the police, worried about going back to jail. And I got bit by a dog. The officer got the dog off of me. I tried to continue to run, and I was literally just running for my life. And he said that I had my hand hit his body alarm. I did not intentionally hit him. I didn't take a swing at him. And yeah, it was a plea agreement. I had already suspended time. I wasn't going to take it to trial. They made it, we made an agreement.
Right. I'm sure that's just how it went down. I mean, it was the doggy that was biting him. He didn't hit the police officer. This Baba Angel Aladdin, his actual justice warrior, likes to call these princes. He surely wasn't doing anything that they've accused him of. I mean, let's completely disregard the fact that he has criminal history that goes back over 20 years. Let's forget all of that. You know what's interesting about this guy? He's just not any type of felon, but he's a felon who brings his own children into the act. In 2006, he did a home invasion with a baseball bat, and he brought two of his sons to participate in that home invasion. They were just 14 and 16 years old. This is just one of the crimes that our little Baba Angel Aladdin has committed. Now, while he was out, oh my gosh, you're going to listen to it. You'll hear it. Let's just jump into this crazy parole hearing, and I'll unpack it with all the details at the end.
Good morning. My name's Stephen Coons, 337-618.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Stephen Coons, inmate number 337-618. He's serving a sentence of 3 years jail class sentence for violation of probation of the underlying offense of burglary 3rd, violation of probation of the underlying offense of 52nd, 3 counts of failure to appear 1st, conspiracy to commit larceny 4th, assault 3rd, and illegal operation of a motor vehicle while under the influence. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date, November 26, 2024. There's no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed Voices Tier 2 and is currently working as a hauling cleaner. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, offender's overall score on the SRT falls within the very high range of risk for recidivism. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole.
Good morning. Thank you. I have a letter that I wrote just based off of nervousness. I'll do that now. Thank you, guys. I am prepared to be a productive, contributing member of society. I'm ready to man up and stop wasting my potential and refuse to continue ruining my life. I'm a work in progress, wholeheartedly committed to staying on the right track to being successful. I understand the seriousness of my past actions, as well as the severity of my crimes. I have true remorse and deeply regret the harm I have caused. I shoulder the responsibility for the wrongs I have done, wake up and face my consequences, and choose daily to better myself. I do not have or make excuses for the mistakes I have made. I put myself here because of the bad decisions I have made. I deservedly have spent over 13 years of my life incarcerated. Even though this is a significant fraction of my life, it has not all been time wasted. I remain positive and know that only I have the power to change how the rest of my life turns out. It's up to me to make the success story that I want. Like everyone else who has ever lived, I have suffered tragedy. Most of it the loss of both my little brothers. Both died at age 24, 3 years apart. Dylan died of a fentanyl overdose while I was serving my 7-year sentence. His death put me in a state of mind in which I never thought I was going to go back to using. Still fighting off this cunning, baffling disease. During COVID, my youngest brother, Reed, died of cardiac arrest. My life went to shambles, and the world too was in a panic. I was selfishly suicidal. I had to identify his body. However, I put a brave face on for my family at first. I had to identify his body, organize his cremation and service. I began to drink heavily. I recognized the risk and checked myself into rehab. A month after, I took precautions for a more serious relapse and began Vivitrol. I made a bad decision, one that I should have known better because of the friends I've lost due to drinking and driving. I got myself a DUI, I violated probation, suspended my license. I was not handling my grief, addiction, probation, or responsibilities the way I could have. I was falling apart. I broke up my relationship, I lost my job, I stopped reporting, and I turned back to heroin. I ran away from myself, my family, my life, court, and jail. I knew that if I survived, eventually I was going to have to come back to serve my suspended time. I had OD'd multiple times, checked myself into detoxes, and had periods of doing well, but truthfully needed and welcomed the time I was sentenced to. This time I've had to be clean has made it clear what was even more tragic than my brother's death is if I didn't change my life and live every day bettering myself, so I can live right and fully to honor their loss. So no matter what, I'm staying on a path to success. I've worked diligently to reflect on my behavior and take responsibility for my actions. I have participated and finished my OAP programs, Tier 2 and Voices. They contributed greatly to the knowledge I need to be an active member in society. I've taken proactive steps to establish healthy habits, such as yoga, meditation, working, exercising. My daily routine also includes reading, writing, drawing, cleaning, having healthy conversations, staying positive, and planning for my future. I have been able to grow through adversity, learning by experience that I can now make better decisions when faced with hardship. I recognize how my past failures and attitudes and behaviors led to my poor judgment and unacceptable actions. I am more aware of my shortcomings and also know how to identify warning signs of a potential relapse. I know that I can use some help and where to get it when it's needed. I have a relapse prevention plan. I'm currently on methadone. The clinics out there assign you to a counselor who can help me continue and maintain my plan, and also connect me to further help I need, therapy, programs, meetings. I also have a friend who will be a temporary sponsor. He'll show me to some meetings and introduce me to other sober people where I can find a more permanent sponsor. He's a family friend who has been clean for over 20 years. I've worked for him before, and he is an asset to my sobriety. I believe in the saying, you are who you hang out with, and I plan to stick by positive, sober, successful people. I understand that people, places, and things can be crucial. I will practice awareness of self, surroundings to avoid hazardous locations and scenarios. Mental health is also very important. The only meds I'm on is methadone and plan to decrease. I will visit the psychiatrist I've been seeing since 2019, but feel good without taking any meds right now. I have detailed ABCD plans combined with short-term and long-term goals specific to how and where I'm released based upon 6 core objectives: sobriety, responsibility, employment, transportation, good life goals, and entrepreneurship. I have more specific details if it's okay for me to read them.
Yeah, we might get to some questions that can address those. It's great that you have that plan. Yeah,
I have it pretty detailed down to transportation and more specific. If you'd rather ask me, or I could just read them real quick.
is it a quick thing? Yeah.
Yeah, it should take me another minute to finish this.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Sobriety, plan on continuing with good habits, staying healthy, being positive, methadone, active with the counselor, therapy, meetings, groups, awareness, people, places, and things. 2, responsibility, staying in compliance with parole, halfway house, being on time, work, appointments, paying bills, saving money, writing out plans, goals, to-do lists, and completing tasks. 3, employment. I have multiple opportunities depending on the location. Whether I go to a halfway house or parole. If I parole home, which is in the Litchfield area, I have opportunities with high class moving in Sharon, top tier moving in Thomaston, and Applebee's in Danbury. 2 places I've worked for before, and another one who told me, I have a friend that said I could get a job there. New Haven, there's Bazzuto's of North Haven, 2 guys in 1 truck. If all else fails, a temp agency or fast food places. I have the same list, similar in Waterbury. I also have transportation lined up for all those situations. Number 4 is transportation, setting up a med cab for methadone, recurring daily, obtain a pass and no bus schedule, only keep sober friend rides, pay suspension fee, safer car insurance, registration, and Toxalock. 5 is good life goals, yoga, meditation, read, write, gym membership, job training, stick to good, healthy hobbies, photography, content creation, and cooking. Entrepreneurship is a little more of a long-term goal. Business cards, t-shirts. I'm going to get a van. I plan on doing moving, clean outs in the state, clean outs, buying another bulldog and doing some breeding. We have a bulldog in my house. My family's been doing some dog breeding, bank accounts, credit, online classes, and marketing. This is my conclusion. I have taken many proactive steps to prepare for reintegration, job opportunities, housing, family support, sponsor, community resources. This will help ensure my successful transition. I understand that parole is a privilege and not a right, and I will stay committed to following all conditions and rules and the laws I'm under. I respectfully ask for this opportunity to show that I can earn the trust to be a member of society again. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Coons. So we've read all about your background, what's got you to this incarceration, what you've done since you've been in, your interview with the parole officer. Based upon that, we have some questions.
Absolutely.
There's a very thorough statement that you made. We have some questions, and then we're going to talk about your case and give you a decision.
Absolutely.
And this morning, Board Member Sarkoff is going to start with the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Mr. Coons. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty well, a little nervous.
It's okay. So thank you for preparing the statement. You certainly covered a lot of ground. Going to follow up on a couple things, but let me start with your convictions first.
Yes, sir.
Quite a number of them. Talk to me about your assault third conviction.
My assault third. So the assault third was a plea agreement. I was fighting to try to get the charge dropped. I did detest it. I was in the wrong completely. I was running. I should have followed the instructions, stopped and listened to the officer. I was in active use at the time. I was trying to run. I do have PTSD diagnosed. I got bit by a dog. I was in a very erratic state between using and trying to run from the police, worried about going back to jail. And I got bit by a dog. The officer got the dog off me. I tried to continue to run, and I was literally just running for my life. And he said that I had my hand hit his body alarm. I did not intentionally hit him. I didn't take a swing at him. And yeah, it was a plea agreement. I had already suspended time. I wasn't going to take it to trial. They made it, we made an agreement.
Okay. What about the DUI in 2023?
So the DUI actually was in 2020. My court for my dismissal was in 23. So when you get your first DUI, you do the class, and if you stay DUI free for a certain amount of time, they dismiss it. within that, I did the class. I caught the DUI after my second little brother's death. My mother and I were in the car together. We were visiting some friends. She was intoxicated. I was intoxicated. I thought it was a horrible choice. Neither one of us should have drove. I was the lesser of the two intoxicated. I decided to drive. It was a bad decision. Like I said in my letter, I know multiple people personally who've died in car accidents from drinking and driving. There's no excuse for my actions. The reason that it stuck as a conviction is because I missed it was going to be dismissed because I did the program, but I had caught the VOP in between the timing of my court date and didn't show up at court because I was on the run.
So it was your first DUI, you were getting a program,
Right.
we're doing the classes, but then you had a violation of probation during that time.
Right. So I caught the violation of probation for the DUI. I actually did 6 months for that. But like I said, the court date for the dismissal I missed due to the fact that I was in violation status already with a warrant out.
You talked
And
about
I should have turned myself in and handled it the right way.
you've talked about a couple of programs that you've taken that have been impactful, right? Voices and Tier 2, but it looks like you've already done those programs before. Why do you think that they haven't worked in the past? It looks like you've done Tier 3 and Tier 4. Well, Tier 4, I think you were removed for failure to apply.
Sure. Yeah, I was in a different place in my life at that time. Like I said, I was in a different place in my time. The program did help me here. One, I was more active in wanting to help. You could listen to all of it as much as you have it being said to you, but if you're not ready for the information or to receive the information, it's useless. But I do have lots of experience with going to these programs. Honestly, one of my other options of employment of what I want to do for job training is involved, and I know what help value sobriety is the C-CAR and potentially being, if not just active in the rooms, but maybe a counselor at one point. But I want to have a good amount of clean time and be safe with my own, sobriety before that happens.
You've been working in the facility, right? Well,
Yeah, I was in the clothing factory, and now I do the hallway.
how long you been doing that?
Over a year now, since last May, or since last September, so about a year.
Okay.
I've been
Talk to
here
me
since last May.
talk to me about the one ticket that you received last year.
I had just got sentenced. I was in Cybulski, which is definitely a privileged jail. I should have taken better advantage of it. I was really happy to be there because I knew that I'd be able to get my programs done fast. And for some reason, it's treated as a reintegration jail. It's a better place to be. I have experience. I've done like 13 years in prison, so I've gotten tickets before. My last sentence, I was not in compliance. I got in a lot of trouble, and this time I was really trying to stay out of trouble, and I have been able to. But I do know some of the rules. I had tried to argue with the commissary worker. I was on loss of commissary, but I don't want to make an excuse, but we had a difference of opinion. I asked for the lieutenant. In doing so, stepped over a boundary that they have where they build tables in a square. And because I stepped over that boundary, I got a tampering with safety and security. But it is my own fault. I was a little worked up and arguing with the commissary worker.
In your opening statement, you covered a lot of ground with respect to all the things that you want to do in the community. But what are your main priorities when you are released? No matter what happens today, you are released relatively soon.
No matter what, I have a detailed plan that I'm going to stick to, And like I said, I have contingency plans based off of how I'm going to be released. So whether I'm released today, or not today, but whether I get parole, if I go get parole, I'm going home, and I have job opportunities in that area. And whether I go to a halfway house, I know where job opportunities are in that area. My sobriety is my number one goal. 2 is employment. 2 is my responsibilities actually to my houses, my halfway house if I'm there, my parole officer if I'm there in that situation. 3 would be employment. 4 is transportation. I have literally planned this out, and I work on it daily. I believe in manifestation. I read self-help books. I constantly work out. I do not waste my time in here. I just need to stick to those healthy habits out there and keep the negativity away from me. I've come into a certain age where it's time for me to accomplish these goals.
And you haven't done well on probation in the past. How do you think you will do this time?
So my first year, I did actually pretty well on probation. I did have 3 years, but ultimately I did not do well. I relapsed. If I'm on parole, there's no way I'm coming back to prison. Or if I'm released in a halfway house, I'm ready to stay in line, sir.
Okay, I think that's all I have. Thank you for answering my questions.
Board Member Barry.
For Chair. So, Mr. Coons, in your opening statement, you said that you had several different locations for which you could, I guess,
Job opportunities.
yeah. And I note that you wanted to go to your grandmother's house in New Milford.
Yeah, my grandmother's house in New Milford. Yeah.
Isn't that near Danbury?
Yes, ma'am.
So how would you get from work in New Haven to work in New Haven from Danbury every day?
No, New Haven is my number one choice for the halfway house. So if I'm going to parole in New Milford, my job opportunities are in Sharon,
Okay.
in Thomaston,
Wait,
and in
wait a
Danbury.
second. Okay.
Sharon, Thomaston, and
No,
Danbury.
I heard you, but I'm saying
Okay, sorry.
that you gave us the sponsor information, and I think that information was confirmed. So you're saying that just in case you have that extra backup plan, is that what you're saying?
Right, I have an ABCD plan. So,
Okay.
I had worked in Applebee's in Danbury before, twice. They rehire people that worked there before because they, less training. So that's kind of, sorry.
I don't think that alcohol was a problem for you.
I haven't drank since I went to rehab after my brother's death, but it was a problem at one point, yes.
So being around in that environment won't be triggering for you? Working in a restaurant where alcohol is served?
Hey, if I'm I can't stay away from every liquor store. I can't stay away from every restaurant that serves alcohol. I got to be responsible in a safe place in my own mind.
I think that I understand what you're saying, but in the same vein, I really believe that if you know that there's an addict and you struggle with a substance, I would be as far removed from those situations that put me right there, especially given your history. I understand a job is a job. I get that, but you said to my colleague, number one priority.
That's also not my number one choice. It's just I have my most experience in work is moving. I move furniture. My number one opportunity is in high class moving and sharing.
Yep.
I also worked in top tier moving in Thomaston. Those would be my A and then B. And off of your recommendation, maybe I would put the restaurant a little further down the line. But I do feel that I know that I'm gonna have to walk by liquor stores. I'm gonna have to learn to say no, and I'm capable of saying no. I've done it in the past, and I know I can do it again. I've had long periods of clean time.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All
Thank
right,
you.
board member Sarko, where are we?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Coons rates very high for risk of recidivism, and that's not surprising given his very long history.
Right.
Age of 36, which brings a lot of harm to the community, a lot of victims. A lot of it does have to do with drinking and substance use. He has taken tier 2, which he's taken in the past. I'm concerned that might not be enough with his alcohol and drug score of 5. Well, see tier 4. He does have 1 ticket last year. I think he's on the right track. He does have a flat sentence.
Yeah, this is my only opportunity to really be on supervision. Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I failed to say that we're just going to talk about your case now and give you a decision. You're okay.
Frankly, I'm torn here. I'd love to hear what other members think.
Board member Barry.
Unfortunately, I do not have Mr. Coons' vote of approval. I really believe that he's had a number of opportunities out in the community. He squandered them all. Record indicated he was halfway positive, and I marked it wrong. So perhaps they can provide some additional help for him. But for me, he was already on probation, and while I can sympathize with the loss of his brother, I just cannot justify or reconcile, should I say, the repeated offenses to support his habit, despite the numerous opportunities at treatment and everything else.
So I don't know that we're going to be much help to you, board member Sarkoff, because I'm in a totally different place. I think that Mr. Coons came in here with a well thought out release plan. Concerns me that he has a flat sentence. I think a transitional period is important. A well thought out transitional plan is important. I do understand that he has a 5. In addition to tier 2, he's active with the MAT program. He has thought out his engagement with recovery first with a temporary sponsor to get to a meeting to form a relationship with somebody on a more long-term basis. I think he's headed in the right direction. These types of offenses are certainly related to addiction. And I just think that Mr. Coons having the support of a parole officer for the next 1 year would be a good thing in trying to right the ship and do the right thing. I think he's receptive. The board member Barry's question about Applebee's, it's like it's the third thing. He looked at his strengths. I think he's got a sense of what he can do. I also heard Mr. Coons talk about he needs to get to a place where he can walk past a package store and also every restaurant that I know that I go to dinner at has alcohol in it. When I'm asked for what I want for a beverage, it's salsa with cranberry. It's like that's what we need to learn how to do. And I myself, as a person in recovery and a past commander of the American Legion, I bartended in my first 2 years in recovery. Not the best scenario, but it's like you can't be in a place where you fend off, because if you're trying to fend stuff off, you're going to wind up doing what you're trying to fend off. So I'm impressed with the honesty and the insight that he had in the placement of things, as well as contingencies for what to do next if something doesn't work out. Because the hard piece here is when something goes sideways, what are we going to do? And what the thought process that I saw and heard in his plan was, he is in a place where he's anticipating if things go sideways here or there, what am I going to do that's productive and constructive in my life? So on that end, I would support Mr. Coons having parole supervision for a year on this asset, and totally understand Board Member Barry had to say as well about Mr. Coons' history and such. So,
Yeah, I mean, ultimately this is on Mr. Coons, right? Whether he's released this year or in a year, it's on him to follow through, figure out a way to stay sober and be productive. I'd be willing to grant him discretionary parole. I totally understand with all the history and history of failing supervision. I'd be a yes vote today.
so no alcohol, no operation of a motor vehicle without parole officer's permission. What else would we do here? Anything. All right. So regarding Stephen Coons, 337 and 618, I move to grant parole on or after September 12th, 2025, with the following stipulations: no alcohol consumption, no operation of motor vehicle without parole officer's permission. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no.
No.
And on a majority vote, you've been voted to parole.
Thank you.
Get out there and execute on those plans.
Absolutely. I truly appreciate it and make you guys proud. You too, man.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Inmate number 337, 618.
Let me just start with pointing out how crazy Mr. Mike Pohl is. He is dangerous. The idea that he is putting himself, imposing him on his experiences, how when he became sober, he worked as a bartender for 3 years. Yeah, that's an outlier, Mr. Mike Pohl. This man is an impulsive, dangerous, repetitive felon who has shown nothing in his life except that he will go out and consume substances and reoffend. And you are going to impose yourself on him. That is absurd. Louisiana had a case like this where someone's game plan was to go out and work at a diner/wine bar. This is what the Louisiana Parole Board did when that was proposed to them.
Did you say wine bar?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. You are kidding me.
It's more of a diner, I believe.
That served alcohol. Yes. Thank you very much. I'm sorry.
And if y'all watch the other channel where I always impose that laugh, where I impose it on both channels, this is where it came from. This is the lore, okay? Isn't it different? Isn't it? It's worlds apart. In one place, the parole board just falls on the floor saying, "Are you nuts?" And here you have Mike Paul saying, "No, it's good for him to work in that environment. I mean, you can't just ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist." And it's like, no, 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 no. The repeating the same thing and doing it over and wondering different results, whatever, the Einstein thing. Yeah. That doesn't exist, Mike Pohl. He's dangerous. Now, look, this dude, he's been out since September. I'm recording this as of December, mid-December. So he is still out, but he's got to make it until October 2026. I'm going to put it in the record right now that we will see him back in a revocation. He will be in the return of playlist. I want you to put your thoughts in the comment section because if he does come back or when he comes back, I will read the comments because that's a new thing that we are doing. There's just no chance. There's no chance that he makes it. I just wonder how he gets revoked. I mean, because you just remember he is impulsive. He cannot control himself. He cannot help himself. Now let's go over his long list of crimes. So we can do the one thing, and I thought this was not true. I actually had to check with Sir Richard. I said, Sir Richard, this is crazy what he did to initially. So his initial crime was this home invasion. Home invasion nets dad and two sons. Now it happened in 2006. So Connecticut, they make things go away after 10 years. But thankfully, someone wrote a news article. But that's why the parole board wasn't even considering it. But let me just show to you how dangerous this man is. Michael Coons. Can you imagine at the age of 41? Michael Coons and his son Steven, 16, both of blah blah, were taken into custody in New York State by New York State Police after a high-speed pursuit on Interstate 90 near Syracuse. Coons' 14-year-old son, and by the way, they're going to come up again, so hang on there. Who wasn't identified because of his age, also was involved in the assault. Investigators said the two older suspects are being held without bail at the Madison County Jail pending an extradition request from Connecticut authorities. They also faced multiple charges in New York stemming from the chase. Authorities said that the incident began shortly after 10 a.m. when the three suspects forced their way into an apartment above the blah blah blah. Oh, animal hospital, right? The same guy. What's this thing with dogs biting him? He wants to raise dogs, blah blah blah. And yeah, and he allegedly began assaulting a 28-year-old Garrett Walker with a baseball bat and a chair. So he breaks into this person's home with a baseball bat and his two sons, 16 and 14. Walker lives in the apartment with his mother and 3.5-year-old daughter. So he's doing this with this is the guy. This is the prince. Why am I on the right side of the room? I don't like this. Okay, I'm gonna go here. Much more comfortable here. All right. Who were present during the alleged attack? They were there. They were there in the alleged. I love it. Alleged. Walker was injured, but was able to fight off his assailants. So this man, with his 3.5-year-old daughter there, fought off these three Bebe Angel Aladdins. His mother attempted to call police, but one of the attackers ripped the phone out of her hands and smashed it. Police said, Connecticut State Police Sergeant Gray Genny said, investigators know the reason Walker was attacked. There is a motivation, but they're not disclosing it at this time. But it was not narcotic related, Kenny said. Several hours after the attack, Connecticut State Police learned one of the assailants had placed a telephone call from a rest stop in I-90 outside Syracuse and alerted authorities there. New York State troopers located Coons' vehicle and chased it for about 9 miles at speeds of excess of 110 miles an hour. This is a man that they want to have, that Mike Pohl wants to have work in a bar. Steve Coons was behind the wheel, was behind. Oh, stop popping around. Oh my gosh. These ridiculous articles. was behind the wheel at the time and said that the chase ended when Steve Coons rammed in the car into a police cruiser in a rest stop parking lot. He fled on foot but was quickly apprehended. Remember, this with his 2 children in the car. Michael Coons was charged with endangering the welfare of a child and being a fugitive from justice. Steve Coons was charged with first-degree reckless endangerment, second-degree criminal mischief, obstruction, governmental administration, resisting arrest, and blah, blah, blah. The 14-year-old was released in custody to a relative because he was too young. Now, these same children were busted just a few years later as adults robbing another house. So they too became Beba Angel Aladdins thanks to his, I'm sure, their father. And then again, oh wait, well that was not he had another home burglary in 2011. Actually, this might have been his son too. I can't remember. No, I think it was him again. Now, so they like breaking into homes. These are the type of people that they're getting. But we're not done. As Sir Richard pulled up his record, and they touched on it at the beginning, but he had the interference with an officer on 11/21/2019, sentenced to 3 months jail, illegal motor vehicle under the influence in 2020, was sentenced to 6 months jail, conspiracy, commit larceny, 4th degree for 14/22/2, sentenced to 364 days in jail, and then failure to appear and failure to appear. And finally, they said, you know what, enough is enough, and they made him serve some time. And do you remember, did you recall, I wrote this down in my notes, when he said, I took the plea deal when, the police officer, he makes it seem like he's the whole thing, the way he even spoke about it. The dog was biting me. The police officer took the dog off of me. I continued to run. The police officer said I hit him in his vest, but I was just I didn't know what was going on. I was gonna fight it in court, but I didn't because I already had a suspended sentence, so I did a plea agreement. This, first of all, is what Mike Paul said, that he was impressed by his honesty and insight. Mike Paul said this man, he was impressed by his honesty and insight. He couldn't even have the honesty and insight to admit what happened there. And Mike Paul says that he was impressed. Oh my gosh, do you guys hear that noise? By his honesty and insight. And my takeaway was also is that he already had a suspended sentence, so he did a plea deal. And we always said this: the suspended sentences are get out of jail free cards, because that's what happens. They don't even sentence people to more time. They just say, oh, you'll just serve some time on your suspended sentence, or they never serve the suspended sentence and they just get new time. It's like, but it never works against. Anyways. So let me know in the comment section whether or not you think we're going to see him again. I'm convinced that we will. He does not have it in him, and I go by the Einstein theory. Okay, we will see him again, but let me know in the comment section, and there we go.
You use the term women, and you understand that these undercover officers were posing as 14 and 15-year-olds.
Yes,
Okay, so that's very different than looking for adult company.
correct.
And you knew that they were underage.
It was in 2012 when our prince over here was caught up in a sting operation, nearly identical to those of the Chris Hansen type. He was in chat rooms talking to little ones, whom he knew clearly was the age, had 4 separate conversations spanning several weeks before he got up into his vehicle and went to the sting house. That's where he was arrested, eventually convicted, served a whopping 9 months in prison, out on parole, and only completed his probationary period 2 years ago. But here he is asking the pardon board to expunge his record. Now, he has lifetime registry in the state of Illinois, but due to weak laws in Connecticut, he no longer has to register there. But expunging his record because he's unhappy that people are coming to the bar that he operates and confronting him about his well, history. Now let's find out if the state of Connecticut does decide to expunge this man's record and crimes where he still does not admit what he did was, well, he still blurs. He's a classic chomo. Let's put it that way. Anyways, let's jump in and find out.
Excuse me, next on the docket is Mr. Christopher Driscoll.
Hello,
Hi, please state your name for the record.
Christopher Driscoll.
And at this time, you may explain to the board why you believe you're suitable for an absolute pardon.
Yes, I'd like to make a statement. I wanted to thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today at this hearing. February 9th, 2012 was truly the worst day of my life. It was the day of my arrest. I have said since that day that I take full responsibility for my actions that led up to me committing my crime. I have blamed no one but myself for the decisions I made. I think it is important for the board to understand what was going on in my life at the time. I was in an unhappy marriage and had been thinking for many months about divorce. I had 2 children and was worried what effect divorce might have upon them. I constantly stressed about staying together versus divorcing. I was in a job that required me to travel and be away from home at least 1 week a month, and being away frustrated and angered my family. I was under financial stress at trying to be the breadwinner for my family. I did not have a strong support system in Connecticut as I had moved from Illinois to take a job promotion in Connecticut. And all these feelings led to me feeling lonely and isolated, and I sought out chat rooms as a way to talk to adult women and feel better about myself. I saw chat rooms as a way to escape from the stress and loneliness in my life. With all this stress, frustration, and anger, I was not making clear decisions and began chatting with someone who represented themselves as underage. I used this opportunity to commit my crime. I realized that it was highly inappropriate, morally offensive, and illegal. I completely accepted all the consequences for my actions: 9 months in prison, 10 years probation, 10 years on the sex offender registry, and sex offender therapy. I completed all requirements and had no violations. It was during treatment that I discovered several things about myself that factored into me committing my crime. I had a lack of impulse control. There was a failure to adequately handle stressful personal situations. I discovered triggers that could lead me to reoffend and how to manage them. I also discovered I failed to properly communicate with my spouse. And I also discovered a correlation between my crime and a gambling addiction that I had when I lived in Las Vegas from 1992 to 1999. I can talk more about the gambling addiction in more detail. However, it ceased to be a problem when I moved from Las Vegas in 1999. Currently, I do not go to casinos or use online gaming platforms. I have lost many things as a result of my crime. I have divorced from my first wife and remarried. I lost a job which I loved as a regional manager for a security company. I lost the love and support of my 2 children who are now grown adults, only one of which I have a slight relationship with. All of these are consequences for my actions, and I have accepted them. I would like to note I have gained things as well as a result of this. I remarried and have been happily remarried for 11 years. I relocated to Pennsylvania and have a better support system. And that's really why I moved to Pennsylvania. My wife was there, and she has many, many family members that love and support me. Through therapy, I have a much better understanding of why I committed my crime and how to make sure it never happens again. I think through decisions and don't act impulsively. I communicate better with my spouse, and I let her know that if there are things that are bothering me or that I'm struggling with something, so she can help me. I have a job I enjoy as a kitchen manager at a local restaurant and bar that my wife purchased about 3 years ago, and I help her running the business. If I receive a pardon, it will help me in the following ways. Number one, I would like to appeal my classification in Illinois as a lifetime sex offender, a classification I received by visiting Illinois when my father was dying. I have family in Illinois, and my mother is elderly. If my mother were to become ill or require care in the future, it's a concern that I have that it would make it difficult for me to visit Illinois or assist in her care. Also, currently my wife, as I said, is the owner of our bar and restaurant, and Pennsylvania liquor laws prohibit an owner of having a history of a felony conviction. If granted the pardon, I would be eligible to pursue co-ownership of the business, which was our initial dream 3 years ago. It would also assist my wife and I in moving forward from the past history with more of a clean slate. We live in a small town here in Pennsylvania. Within the last several months, we had a situation at the business in which a customer questioned my history and informed others about my sex offender past. This put our business at risk. If granted a pardon, I would be able to explain my past while also informing those individuals that I was granted a pardon. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Driscoll. Do board members have questions for Mr. Driscoll?
Yeah, I guess. So you completed treatment, you were in treatment from 2013 to 2015, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I read a reference to you learned through treatment about sexually deviant choices and your tendency to rationalize them. Can you tell me more about that, please?
I think it just had to do with my impulse control, and that if I came up with an irrational, deviant thought, instead of trying to dismiss it, I tended to act impulsively. And in the situation of my crime, I was given the opportunity and irrationally thought that it was okay. And it was just a connection that I made, that although someone might have a thought or two, it needs to be reeled in and kept under control.
I'm not sure I'm getting the rationalizing part. You said you knew the victim was underage and you decided to set aside all sound reasoning, common sense, good decision making, and follow my impulsive thoughts and behaviors. So how have you learned to curtail your impulses with rational thought?
In the situation, for whatever reason, I did not, even though she was 14 or said she was 14, I did not correlate that with the fact that my son at that time was 14 years old. And I didn't correlate that with the fact that, well, wait a minute, that's could be his girlfriend or whatever. I think we all have thoughts that maybe we wrestle with from time to time. And I think, our angels and demons on our shoulders and that kind of thing. But more related to the question is just that I realized that what I did was inappropriate, and making sure that that conduct never happens again, is my utmost important thing at this point in time.
Okay, so you mentioned learning about triggers. What are your triggers?
Being impulsive, not thinking, just reacting, not looking at decisions and analyzing them and looking at consequences. When I get into stressful situations, sometimes I shut down. I didn't communicate. And because of the situation that I was in with the marriage, I should have communicated at that time to my wife that we were having issues and that I was unhappy. Financial pressures as well is a trigger as well. But my most important thing is to communicate when I'm having issues. If I feel stressed, I have a good support system here in Pennsylvania, and I will tell my wife, or I will tell family here. I think that was a huge lesson that I learned is to open up and be more communicative, to let people know when I am having issues.
Okay. So, I'm not sure everything you just said are actually triggers. I got the financial pressure and the stress. But it seems like your history of coping with those was to shut down and act without thinking.
Yes,
So
correct.
those are that's your MO, not what brings you to poor decision making and irrational thoughts. Do you think you have a sex addiction like the gambling addiction?
I think at the time, because of where I was at in my life and because I was unhappy in the marriage, and I will also say that I had low self-esteem. And that resulted in wanting to go into the chat room to talk to women, to get that reinforcement that, oh, I was a good guy, and, to feel better about myself. But you asked, do I have a sex addiction? No, I do not. I think because of the pressures that I had at the time, that was the outlet that I was using. I was unhappy in the marriage, both emotionally and sexually. And I chose the chat rooms as an escape to do so.
Okay. So you were coping with your low self-esteem by seeking connection and validation, shall we say,
Yes.
from
Yeah.
others, but you use the term women, and you understand that these undercover officers were posing as 14 and 15-year-olds.
Yes.
Okay, so that's very different than looking for adult company.
Correct.
And you knew that they were underage. What is your online presence like now?
Other than with the business paying bills, that is strictly it. I don't have any social media. I don't have Facebook. My wife handles all that. So no social media other than, like paying bills and stuff for the business.
Okay. So you completed your 10 years of probation following your 9 months of incarceration in July of 2023.
Yes.
Okay. I appreciate that you are, thinking down the line with your mother as she ages and the situation in Illinois. I'm glad that you engaged actively in treatment and seem to have taken away some important information that you can work with. I understand where your kids are coming from.
Oh, absolutely. I do too.
And
I do too.
I'm sure they suffered as a result of this being public. And,
Yes.
it was interesting listening to you, Mr. Driscoll, because, you laid out a list of things that you lost, but this was a situation of your own making.
Oh, absolutely.
So you paid a stiff price for, as far as consequences, but
Yes.
they were consequences of the choices that you made.
That's correct. And I
To
never,
cope with things like failing marriage and, low self-esteem. And
when this all happened, I internally said to myself, I've probably lost my kids for the rest of my life, because of the decisions I made. And I've tried to repair that. One wants to have a relationship and the other one understandably does not. And that's their choice. They're adults, and I certainly respect it.
well, and hopefully also understand that, they were damaged by your choices.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, they were. And I feel very bad for that. And I've tried to make amends with them for that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Board Member Chance, anything further?
No.
Is there objection?
No.
Regarding Christopher John Driscoll, I move to grant a full and absolute pardon. Board Member Chance,
Aye.
Board Member Turner,
Aye.
Chair votes aye and the pardon's granted. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Who else is just sitting here utterly stunned by the pardon board's decision? This is not a parole hearing. This is not a hearing to decide whether you get out of prison early or not. This is a pardon hearing. And had this been a parole hearing, he would have flunked utterly. I mean, not on Connecticut standards. They are just, they are absolutely blind and deaf and dumb when it comes to those who commit crimes of this nature. They probably would have granted him parole, depending on who's on the board, but most likely. But had this been a Louisiana parole hearing, they would have said, wait, what? This is what you learned in your programs? Not to talk to what were the words he was using? Talking to young adults? What? He takes the idea, everything that he said. It was word salad. It was gaslighting. It made no sense. It was all a contradiction. He was going through a tough time. He was stressed. He moved from Illinois. He should have gotten divorced, but he didn't because he didn't know what it would do to his children. It was impulse control. I learned to communicate with my spouse. And it's like, wait, what are you talking about? You deliberately sought out little ones. We know this playbook. I'll go over the article in a second. I need to get a little bit more off my chest. I need to do some venting because, again, remember, they pardoned him. They expunge his record. The only thing you even need to, his children still don't talk to him. Does that not send every flag you need to know? The idea that also, while he gets remarried, he said he'd been married for 11 years, doing the math, it means he would have gotten remarried within months of getting out of prison. What woman marries a sex offender just getting out of prison? Then, she buys him a bar so he can work in it, and he doesn't like when people pull up his. That's the whole point of the registry. Now, he doesn't need to be on Connecticut registry because it's only 10 years. That's the Connecticut for you. But Illinois, isn't that a shocker? Illinois, we've covered Illinois hearings. We have an Illinois playlist if you want to see the Illinois hearings, and they are actually much tougher than many of the other states we covered. He has lifetime registry for that. Hopefully he can't get out of it. This man is a predator. He is a roach. He is dangerous. The idea that he would be behind a bar is terrifying. He is the moment he is fine. These people are so manipulative, but it always still shocks me because they're so dumb at the same time. Everything he said in this hearing was dumb. It was like, again, none of it made any sense. It was but it's like a chomo dumb. Like they don't understand the words that they're saying. It makes no sense. They're all contradicting. And then he somehow gets a woman to marry him, a woman with money, apparently, moves to the state. He talks about how the family all loves him. I wonder how many of them actually knew. Probably what happened is he's at the bar and someone confronts him. I bet his wife had no idea. And she's like, what is going on here? And he says, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Maybe he makes up some story. I'm just speculating in a situation like this and says, I need to get a pardon so that it can validate my story. I could fix it all. I'll tell her, look, I have a pardon. They expunged my record. It was all a mistake. It was all a mistake. Well, that's why we do this. We like to keep the record straight. And here's the record. Here it is. It's like a classic Chris Hansen fried pickles sting operation. So the man tried to arrange an encounter with a cop posing as a 14. Look at this. He looks like out of a it just looks it. This is the look. An orange man is facing criminal charges. Police tried to arrange a face-to-face encounter with the supposed little one, but the encounter never actually happened because the alleged little one, blah blah blah, met in a chat room online. Was no teen at all. Police said Rather, it was Detective Ronald Blanchard. And I love he's still calling the person, oh, she and she. It's like, no, he. You should say he, Detective Ronald Blanchard. Blanchard is a member of the Internet Crimes Against Little One Task Force collaborative program between the state and local law enforcement that seeks to investigate offenders who use the internet and computer to exploit little ones. We don't find them, they find us, Harrison said. Our detective does nothing more than enter a chat room with a profile made up that depicts a little one with photos, hobbies, interests, etc. And keep that in mind. This is it. They don't and when you think about it, that he had a son. That means the son was bringing girls over this age. The perversion of it. This was not just some random thing where he was stressed out. The marriage was tough. He was stressed because of work. No, he sought after this. This is what he wants. How does the board not know that? And by the way, for those of you who are wondering, we covered so in the docket. And I think I'll show more of these to you. But I must have seen maybe 50 pardon hearings, murderers, chomos, the worst of the worst. They approved every single one of them, except for one person who did insurance fraud. You can't make it up. And it is an agenda for them to just it's an agenda. It's an agenda to clean up people's records. Like the governor says, I just want everybody's records clean. This is, they are a little experiment. It gets in the way of people living or whatever. And by the way, they don't need to offer pardons to expunge records. They could give them what's called a certificate of employability, which is the next level up that they have in Connecticut. But they don't do that. So it really is a sick perversion. They don't understand that people who do this need to not have their records expunged. It's mind-boggling to me. And I think to everyone watching this. So nothing more. Trap room profile made up that depicts a little one with photo. Okay. In this case, like other computer crimes, police said Discworld made contact with Blanchard, the detective, as he assumed the profile of the little one on 6 separate occasions. So I thought that was 4, January 17th and February 9th. So spanning quite a bit of time, right? A few weeks. The suspect initiated conversation during the interactions. After enough chats, Discworld asked the detective to meet up, and police said the location, and from there, the police sought to engage in activity. Okay. He gave the 14-year-old a description of his vehicle so that when he arrived at Rubin Avenue Plaza, they could find each other. But when Discworld got there on February 9th, the Naugatuck police investigators located him and took him into custody on charges of second-degree SA, risk of injury to a minor, and use of computer to entice a minor. The suspect was locked up and scheduled to be arraigned Friday. And good job on the police. Amazing job. Amazing work. Yet a pathetic judge only gave him 9 years of prison, suspended sentence, probation, and within, I suppose, 2 years of completing his probationary period, they give him a pardon. And we have seen parole hearings, just one recently last week, where someone who's there for the same exact crime, actually for committing the act multiple times before the mother found it, same age, he at his parole hearing was talking about a pardon.
I never want to get in trouble again in my life. I am going to be focusing hard on getting a pardon to get this off of my record, because I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would ever be in this situation.
I want to get a pardon when I get out. And many people watching this probably roll their eyes, but we know better. They will give them the very board. This is the same board, by the way, that does the pardon hearings and the parole hearings. The very board, the same board that grants these folks parole, are granting them pardons. Some of them have been on the board for over 10 years. It's happening. Think about it. It's enraging. I mean, I wrote down notes of what he said, and it's just unhappy in a marriage and thinking about divorce, had 2 children concerned with divorce, would do to them, so I didn't do it. So instead, he did this. Like, what? I had a lack of impulse control, gambling, communication with my spouse. What about you just like little ones? None of that was addressed. It's as if they believe it doesn't exist. You cannot go out and seek little ones, engage in those conversations, then arrange a meeting to fulfill your desires, and then show up and say, I was sexually frustrated in my marriage. I was stressed out. I didn't process it. BS. Just call them out. BS. You like little ones. And until you can admit that, get out of here. And it's not even a parole hearing, it's a pardon hearing. They want to expunge his record. Ladies and gentlemen, Mandalorians, those put in charge to protect us are doing the opposite. They are dangerous. They're villainous. And so he can have co-ownership of a bar? Yeah. And there you have it. And that's why we do this. Thank you, Sir Richard, who has come out of retirement to pull research on this case. And I want to know, I can show another 40 pardon hearings that are similar. That really are. But it all depends if you want to see these pardon hearings. So you're gonna have to let me know in the comment section.
I find it hard to believe you don't know the difference
I'm telling you the truth.
between a 12-year-old and a 19. That's a huge gap.
This, I
Why did you
understand.
did you question why she didn't drive?
She told me she just got back from South Carolina and that she hadn't got her license yet.
And
And
did
she
you
was
ask her
working on-
about work, school? I
Yes,
mean,
she said she was starting a job at a daycare. And
Wow.
yeah, she was starting a job at the daycare. We talked every hour of the day. She was never in school.
Right. He had no idea that she was 12. He thought that she was 19. Of course, a very innocent mistake. But surely the DA, the judge that prosecuted this case, that would sentence him, surely they couldn't make an innocent mistake like this. Surely they wouldn't sentence a monster, a married father who would do this to a 12-year-old to simple 30 months in prison. I mean, as a matter of fact, he was only sentenced on June 14th of 2024 and up for parole about a year later. You really can't make it up. Now, mom found the text messages between his 12-year-old daughter and this 43-year-old male and said, what is going on? She called the police. The police issued a search warrant on her daughter's phone, then received a search warrant on his phone. And they found out that not only were they actively talking, but that they had met up at least 3 separate times and had engaged in full-on activity. So with all of this evidence, they still give this monster a sweetheart deal. And to add insult to injury, they rank him a 0 risk on the static 99. He will never offend again.
Good morning, I'm Jason Hansen, 448-699.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration for parole application for Jason Hansen from Part 8699. He is serving a sentence of 10 years execution suspended after 30 months with 10 years of probation for a sexual assault 3rd degree and risk of injury to a child. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of August 1st, 2025. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the following programs: problem sexual behavior short term, utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system scores. The offender's overall score for recidivism falls in the low range. There is also a static 99 score of a 0, which falls in the low range. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared. I didn't know I was coming today. But first of all, I would like to apologize to her and her family and wish them the best in the future. I will absolutely never do anything to ever come back in here again. Sorry, I'm not extremely prepared. But moving forward, I've completed all my classes, and I will do any classes that are required for getting out. I will attend every meeting. I will never miss a parole meeting. I just want to live a law-abiding life. Any restrictions placed upon me, I will follow to the letter. I will be checking in with the parole officer to make sure that I don't do anything incorrect. I've never been in trouble my entire life, and this has been just a really awakening experience to make sure that I teach my kids to be honest and to always obey every aspect of the law and accept the consequences for actions that you've taken. And from the very beginning, I've cooperated with the law enforcement, told them the truth of everything that's happened, and that I was just open and honest and tried to help them with their investigation from the beginning. And I was extremely ashamed of myself and just absolutely horrified with what was done. And moving forward, I never want to get in trouble again in my life. I am going to be focusing hard on getting a pardon to get this off of my record, because I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would ever be in this situation. That I will never do anything wrong in my life, never drink and drive.
You're
Absolutely
repeating
not.
yourself now, so we're gonna move forward with the hearing, okay?
I'm sorry.
When did you think your hearing was?
September 30th.
Oh, okay, all right.
I just
But you had
completed
your
license.
interview and yeah, I mean, you knew we were getting ready for it. All right. I mean, we could ask for a continuance if you'd like.
No, I'll keep going.
Right, very good. We're gonna ask you some questions now, okay? When we're done with our questions, we'll turn to the Office of Victim Services for some input from them. Then we'll deliberate and give you our decision here today.
Okay.
All right, we'll begin with my colleague, Mr. Sarkoff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Ms. Hanson.
Good morning. How are you?
But thank you. So I've heard you apologize to the victim and the family. How did this happen?
It was on an online adult website, and there was a chat room, and we started talking, and her profile with pictures and everything said she was 19. And so we, met up, and there was nothing for me to say that she wasn't. And I just, when I found out, I was absolutely horrified. I could not believe it.
When did you first meet the victim?
It was like 3 or 4 days after we had started talking. We talked a lot on the site and everything.
Did you meet her online before that?
No, that was just I'd never met her before in my life. It was just on this website. And that's another thing I've learned from my class, is that I was seeking instant gratification and not really trying for a real relationship. And I've not had any type of relationship, any contact with women at all since this has happened. I'm trying to focus on myself to be a better person and figure out why I was looking for the instant gratification. And when I get out, I will continue to do counseling.
So you didn't meet the victim when she was living in a different state? She was younger?
No, not at all.
How do you think this affected the victim? This offense?
I'm sure it affected her a great deal, and I'm hoping that she's able to get the necessary help to get over this and to live a great life. I wish nothing but the best for them.
You took the short track sex offender program in the facility, right?
Yeah, I completed that.
Did you learn anything about yourself from the program?
Yeah, I was, seeking the instant gratification, not trying for a real relationship. And I was just looking out for my needs. And when I should have been, spending more time with my kids and not focusing on finding somebody just to try and fill a void. And when I get out, that's all I'm gonna do is spend time with my kids, try and be there for them, because this has been extremely hard on them as well. And I feel horrible that I put them in this position. My oldest son has had to drop out of UConn to support himself. I'm hoping to get out and help him get back into school, and I would like to get back into school as well and finish my degree in finance.
Did you figure out what your triggers are?
Just looking for something quick right then and there, and I will never online date again. I will never have social media. I can't stand social media or the online dating. It is, caused me a great deal. And it was partly what led to my marriage falling apart.
You also took the Voices program, right?
Yes.
Completed that this month.
Yes, I completed that this month.
What are your takeaways from Voices? What did you learn there?
I put down that to listen to people, like when they go through trauma, to not try and fix it, to listen to what they're just to listen and be supportive, and to just be there for them and let them tell you what they need, not try and go through and try and fix their problems when you don't have a clue what they're going through.
Okay. Whatever happens today, you'll be on the sex offender registry. If you'll be
Yes.
supervised by probation for 10 years,
Yes,
you'll have to do treatment in the community.
yes, I'm do anything that is required of me. I will be there for every meeting, every class, whatever is required, I will be there and get it done.
What do you think is
I-
going
I
to be
will.
what do you think is going to be most difficult for you in the community?
Nothing, there is nothing more important than this, being at all the meetings, all the classes, to never return to this facility or any other facility. I will not let anything stand in the way of getting to where I need to be to get these things completed.
What do you see as the role of probation and parole officer?
Just to, oversee what I do with my daily aspects of my life, and to make sure that I'm obeying all of my laws and restrictions, and just that I'm, living a law-abiding citizen's life.
And I would say that certainly it is about accountability, but it's also a resource for you in the community.
Yeah,
So think of it that way.
I will be asking questions of the parole officer or probation officer to make sure that I don't do anything wrong. That I will ask first before doing, not to do something and then find out later that I did something wrong. I don't want to do anything wrong in my life again. I want to make sure that I do everything correctly. So I will use them as a resource to ask questions before I do something.
Well, thank you, Mr. Hanson, for answering my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Zarko. Ms. Smith-Plummer? I do not. All right, Mr. Hanson, so I think I read that you asked the victim for a birth certificate?
She provided she had said she had one just to make sure.
Okay, but if you did not suspect that she was minor, why would you need to see a birth certificate?
She just offered it.
You didn't
I
find that
didn't-
strange? If someone said to me, let me show you my birth certificate, I would find that a little odd.
I don't know what it is. I really don't know. And
You have 3 children, right?
yes. Look, she showed me graduation pictures. She was showing me all sorts of
Graduate
stuff
from what? I mean, you know, could have been
from high
middle
school.
school. How
No,
did you know
it was high school. Because she had a cap and gown and the
Yeah, middle schools do that too.
I don't know that. My kids' middle schools did not.
Okay, well, there are other places that do. I mean, I've gone to kindergarten graduations. I mean, I find it hard to believe you don't know the difference
I'm telling you the truth.
between a 12-year-old and a 19. That's a huge gap.
This, I
Why did you
understand.
did you question why she didn't drive?
She told me she just got back from South Carolina and that she hadn't gotten her license yet.
Hey,
And
did
she
you
was
ask her
working on-
about work, school?
Yes,
I mean,
she said she was starting a job at a daycare. And
Wow.
yeah, she was starting a job at the daycare. We talked every hour of the day. She was never in school. I had nothing to
Well,
lead me to believe.
so I'm sure you know that kids are on their cell phones all day long, even while they're at school.
It was on FaceTime.
Wow. All right. Well, I mean, you know, you made a statement that online dating and social media cost you a great deal. I would say your actions cost you a great deal.
Yes, and yes, going forward, I will not be on any type of social media, any online dating. I will not meet a woman unless I know her for a long time, or there will be no type of relationship at all. My biggest thing going forward is to be with my kids and to look for their future. And I have
yeah, and
zero.
speaking of which, where were your kids all this time you were spending talking to the victim?
My kids were either at their mother's or asleep. Then my kids are 16, 18, and 20.
Yeah, I understand. I know how old they are.
Yeah.
Pretty
The
close in age,
youngest
I
is
mean.
mostly, my youngest is at his mother's most of the time.
Yeah. Have you thought, I
And-
mean, have you thought about how you would feel if your youngest at 12 was sexually assaulted by a 45-year-old woman?
Yeah, it would be, I feel horrible. And
Yeah.
I feel absolutely horrible and disgusted
Yeah.
that
Okay.
happened. I have taken accountability from the day I found out.
Yeah. Okay. But saying you're just not going to interact with people is not the answer, sir, is my point, I guess.
That's,
You know,
I'm not,
Mr. Hanson, you know, we live in a world where you can't get by without using a computer of some level.
I
And
would,
you
I'm
just have
not
to be
finding-
smarter and you have to make
Yes.
better decisions, better choices.
I'm saying that I'm not going to
Yeah.
use the internet to find somebody to date.
Right. Got it. Okay.
Because I don't want to find myself in any type of situation. And
Yeah.
going forward, I will not date anybody that's not age appropriate.
Right.
Like, that's not close to my age range. Because
When did you finish the Voices program?
the Voices, she submitted the paperwork on the 22nd, I believe.
Okay. All right. Okay, at this point, I'm going to ask the Office of Victim Services to provide input. We'll ask that you listen, but please don't interrupt at all. Ms. Hamlet-Williams, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did speak with the mother of the victim on August 5th, who did express that she had input for today. However, I have not heard back after several attempts,
Okay,
so I do not have input for today.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that update. And we did have a previous statement that, wait, did we read? Let me see. Maybe I'm mixing it up. Yeah, we did have a previous victim impact statement that in the file, attached to the file. So we did have that. Thank you. All right, Mr. Hanson, give us a few minutes to discuss your case. We'll come back to you shortly with our decision. Go
One
ahead.
second.
Yeah.
Did you see that both the case in Torrington and this case is from the same exact instance? They just saw it completely different?
Yeah, no, what do you mean? That your two offenses? Yeah, we understand.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sarkar?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Hanson is here convicted of a very serious offense,
Mhm.
sexual assault in the third degree. That was a very concerning conviction. This is his first arrest, first conviction. He has no criminal history. He rates low in the risk assessment to recidivate. Took programs in the facility. Took responsibility for his offense, and he cooperated with the investigation throughout. I will be willing to grant him discretionary parole today. His end of sentence is September next year, so this will give him about a year head start in supervision, which I think he can use in the community. That's where I am.
Thank you. What conditions do you propose?
Problem sexual behavior treatment and no contact with the victim of ZN.
Thank you. Ms. Smith-Palmieri?
I would agree with that assessment. And, you know, I also take note in the summary of his treatment, his sex offender treatment. The clinician does note that his work reflected his remorse and, you know, identified his actions and understood the gravity of what he had done. So I do believe that he's suitable for discretionary parole today. And I would question whether or not we should use the no computer.
Enhanced internet and device monitoring. Yes, I absolutely would, in addition to no contact with minors without the parole officer's permission. Okay.
Check with the victim. Yeah.
Very good. In the matter of Jason Hanson, inmate number 448699, I'll move to grant parole. It's on or after today, August 26th, 2025, with the following additional conditions. You'll have no contact with the victim, initials ZN. You're to have no contact with minors without the permission of your parole officer. You'll participate in problem sexual behavior treatment in the community, and you'll have enhanced internet and device monitoring. Anything further? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, you'll get all of this in writing. Do you have questions, sir?
Thank you very much. I will not let
Please.
you down.
Keep working on yourself, okay?
I 100% will. I'm going to be
All right.
continuing my therapy, and thank you.
Good luck to you.
This concludes the hearing for Jason Hanson.
Have a good day.
You too.
You can't make it up. You just can't. This parole board, it's like they're psychopaths. It's like, oh, we need to give him an early start in supervision. Let's parole him. He just sat here and he lied to you. He lied and he lied and he lied. I thought she was 19. I mean, surely I thought that. I knew for sure. I was, oh no, it was my, it was my bad marriage that led me into this. And they just go with it. And here, I'll read to you the article. We'll go over that. We'll go over the static 99. He's ranked a 0 on the static 99, which is insane. But it's those put in charge to protect us that will allow these predators, these monsters, these chomos to continue to get away with it. And it is getting away with it. There are, I would not be surprised if you asked 100 chomos, put them in a room, and you would say, well, you would have a relationship with a 12-year-old. And you will get the opportunity to do it with her for 3 times. Now, on the flip side, you're going to have to spend about 15 months in prison. What percentage of those chomos do you think would say, yeah, sign me up. Where do I sign? Let's go. It's their ultimate fantasy. I mean, if a genie came out and said, Mandoo, you could be a professional baseball player for a season, or even, you know what, a game. You'll hit a home run, but you'll have to spend 15 months in prison after. I don't, you know, I gotta tell you, I struggle, and I'm sure you put 100 people in the room in a similar situation, you'd get a large portion that would say, "Where do I sign?" It's crazy. People will this is not punishment. It's worth it for them. And then the add insult to injury, he gets away with just the lying. It's like they look at him and say, "Oh, okay. All right, you either you believe that he's lying, or you think he's saying the truth. Either way, the parole board, you dropped the ball. Punish him." And for those of you who say, "Man, well, they want him out in early supervision. They don't want him." I point this out in the other hearings where we will see those who are locked up for possession of a firearm or DUI, and the parole board say, "You know what? I just can't take the risk on you. You're too much of a danger." And they'll keep them locked up for another year because of that. So we know they can do it, but they choose not to because they're agenda-driven psychopaths, in my opinion. I don't know, psychopath. I know it's a strong word. They're not psychopaths, but they don't care. Or they're so drunk on the Kool-Aid where they think that chomos, where they just don't understand chomos. I don't know. Man charged with assault. Okay, can you believe this is written only May 1st, 2023? A Torrington man had been accused of engaging with a minor. He was 42 at the time, charged April 27th with first-degree essay and fourth-degree essay to a child. I think he was facing legislation. Let's go look at this to see how much time he was facing. What is first-degree SA in Connecticut? Any of you who's not following me on Twitter, give me a follow. First-degree SA legislation in state of Connecticut. I'm just curious what he was facing. Under 16. Under 16, Class A felony. Victim's under 13, which she was. Okay, well, tell me what it is. Maximum sentence. Life imprisonment, 60 years. He was facing, think about this. I want you to think about this. When he was arrested for this, he was facing life in prison, which is 60-year minimum. If I understood that correctly, which I'm pretty sure I did. Maximum sentence, Class A felony, mandatory minimum, non-suspendable, and enemy cases victim is a child, which he was. So, and what kind of plea deal do they give him? They give him a plea deal, even though they have evidence through the phones. They settle on 30 months or whatever. How does that make any sense? It's because they don't have a backbone? No, it's because they I don't know what it is, but it's sick. You could have negotiated a 10-year prison sentence. You could have negotiated a 15-year prison, but no. Let's just let him off. He is free on a promise. He was held without bond. Free on a promise in Vernon Superior Court, June 23rd. The affidavit supporting his arrest provides the following detail. Wow. Free on a promise to appear. They let this imagine if this was your daughter. These judges and they are sick. They are dangerous. They are put in charge to protect their community, and they let this monster out on a self-reconnaissance bond when facing a life sentence. The affidavit supporting it just shows they do not take any of this seriously. In April, a woman reports to police that she discovered her juvenile daughter engaging in an inappropriate relationship with adult men. She spoke to a few of the men to inform them how old her daughter was, and one of them was named Jason. He believed her daughter was 19, she said. The woman shared the phone number she had used, and police connected it back to Hansen. She also gave police permission to seize her daughter's phone. Based on the messages between Hansen and the girl, it appeared they were in some type of serious relationship, as they frequently said, "I love you." Wow. That doesn't sound like very clear-cut grooming. No. Let's believe him. He thought that she was 19. Let's believe him. You know, I guess if I had a PhD, if I was a judge or a district attorney or a parole board member, I would believe him. But if you have ever seen any of these chomos, if you've ever seen predator catchers, if you ever have done anything outside of read a law book, you would know that he knew exactly what he was doing. Police next executed a search warrant in Hansen's home and spoke with him there. Hansen said he met the girl through an online application called Adult Friend Finder in March and engaged in sexual activity on 3 occasions. He actually fulfilled his desires. It wasn't until afterward that he spoke with the girl's mother, who shared her daughter's true age, and they just believe him. Oh, you're right. Hansen said he was shocked and never would have talked to her if he had known. A 43-year-old man at the time, I had no idea she was 12. I'm tired. I really am. I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing these judges, these DAs just do this over and over and over again. And do you know why he's a low on the static 99? And we've gone through this a million times, but this is the 10-point questionnaire, which almost all 50 states use. And I'll tell you right now why he's a low on the static 99. Because he's age 40 or older, okay, he starts with a -1. The lower the score you have, the better. So already he's a -1. If he's 60 or older, he's a -3. Wow. Now, have you ever lived with a lover? Well, we know most chomos do live with a quote-unquote lover. Oftentimes, it's how they gain access to his prey. Well, he did. He was married, so he's a 0. So now he's still a -1. Had you had prior convictions? He says no, so he's 0. Like for CP or something. Prior sex offenses, he says no, so he's 0. And that's the list. And because he's only essayed one 12-year-old 3 times, he's a 0, which makes him a low risk to reoffend. Now, let's just give one example of how insane this is. Let's say he was 60 years old, and let's say he had 4 prior sex offenses. 4, he would get 3 points for that, but he checks all the boxes, the same boxes that this man checked. He would also be a low risk to reoffend. So according to the static 99, as long as you're 60 years old, even if you were a serial predator, you would still be considered a low risk to reoffend. This is what nearly all 50 states in America is using, including Louisiana. They still reference the static 99. They ignore it. They'll reference it, in terms of why they should keep someone locked up. But thank God they have stopped referencing it as why they should release people, although the old parole board used to do it. But I think they've woken up too and realized that it's insane. But Connecticut, to them, it's still the Bible. And most states still view it as the Bible. And that's insane. This needs to stop.
Automatic submachine gun, AR rifles, 19 large capacity magazines. Like how much money did you get for that stuff?
I met with his friend, who I later discovered was a confidential an undercover. And he had asked me to deliver guns from work to him, and I did.
Okay. And how much were you supposed to get for it, though?
There was never any negotiation for price.
So, wow.
I just showed up and gave him the guns, and when I did that, I lost accountability and traceability of them.
And tell me what did you think this person was going to do with all these weapons?
I didn't think beyond the immediate.
Tonight, a New Britain man facing nearly 50 charges after police found more than 100 weapons and tens of thousands of ammunition in his home and his car.
Tony Black is here with the very latest on the investigation and the arrest. Tony.
Yeah, Ben and Jen, this was a 10-month investigation involving state police, New Britain Police, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and the Drug Enforcement Administration. State police say that this was a big bust that shocked those neighbors.
I think this is a significant seizure that's definitely impacts the safety of our streets in a good way.
34-year-old Stephen Gerent Mastriani faces dozens of charges for what police found in his New Britain home Tuesday. Take a look at these pictures. Roughly 125 guns, 3 homemade explosive devices, up to 40,000 rounds of ammunition, as well as a 3D printer police say was used to make gun parts.
Now, this case, it baffles me. You know, they say the state of Connecticut, they don't like their citizens walking around with permitted firearms. They don't want those who need to protect themselves to be able to engage in their Second Amendment rights. So you would think a state with that mentality, with that culture, would throw the book at a man that was caught with over 130 illegal firearms, including 30 caliber fully automatic machine gun, explosives, ghost guns. He was printing them and then caught in an expensive 10-month sting operation. You would think that they would throw the book at a man like that. Well, what if I told you that that newsreel that you just saw, well, that was only published April of 2022. He was only sentenced on 8/28 of 2024, and within less than a year of that sentencing, already up for parole. I frankly couldn't imagine that a state that doesn't want their citizens to carry firearms would take it so easy on a man who is making sure to distribute it to people, to criminals. It's a disturbing case. How much money and resources was poured into locking this man up only to give him parole opportunity already? Now, is he going to take accountability? Is he going to admit to his crime? Or is he going to downplay it and even play himself as the victim? And will the parole board release him back into the street? We're about to find out. And with that, let's jump in.
Good morning. My name is Steve Mastriani, and my number is 439-863.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration for the parole application for Stephen Mastriani, number 439-863. He is serving a sentence of 20 years suspended after 7 years, followed by 5 years of probation for firearms trafficking and illegal sale of an assault weapon. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of August 19, 2025. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed and shows he has completed New Thoughts, Anger Management, Voices, and a Second Chance Alliance course. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score falls within a low range of risk for recidivism. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
I have cards here, so I'm sorry if I look down. Good morning. My name is Steve Mastriani. I'd like to first thank you for taking the time to meet with me and the opportunity to be seen. I feel the work I've been doing on myself and the behavior I've demonstrated while I've been incarcerated reflects that I have real value to offer my community. I found myself in some unprecedented circumstances that led to bad decision-making. As I got in over my head, I continued to make bad decisions trying to remedy the situation. I admit that I didn't give any thoughts or consideration to the future. I recognize that now that I could have put people in jeopardy and they could have gotten hurt. And I'm sorry for this. There were other consequences as well. My father lost his federal license. My mother lost a portion of her retirement investment that was confiscated from my house. Both of my parents had to split the cost of an attorney. I lost my fiance. My best friend Art had to become my power of attorney, and he had to take over handling all my affairs in addition to his own. And I can only imagine what my parents went through as they watched this unravel. It was difficult for them to explain this to family, friends, and their neighbors.
I caused a lot of stress and anxiety and inconvenience to the most important people in my lives. I apologize profusely to them, and after I get back on my feet, I'm going to make a priority of repaying them. I'm going to rely on my support system to prevent anything like this from happening again. 20 years ago, prior to my incarceration, I had 1 DUI. I never repeated that behavior again. I have no record with drugs or alcohol abuse since that event. In the community, I was an engineering student, a father figure, a mentor, and humanitarian. I graduated with 2 associate's degrees and I continued a bachelor's program. I participated in local charities, including the Iwo Jima Memorial in New Britain, the neonatal ICU at the Children's Hospital in Newington, the Veterans Home in Springfield, Massachusetts, and Lyme Bites for Lyme disease awareness. I helped organize a Toys for Tots toy drive for 20 years. I'm a Red Cross blood and plasma donor. I grew my hair out to donate it to Locks of Love and Pantene's program called Beautiful Lengths. I'm eager to positively contribute to the community in the future. And if you review my letters of recommendation, you'll see they reflect a man who did have a positive impact on the community. While incarcerated, I have managed to remain ticket-free. During my unsentenced time, I served as a tierman. After some time, I became a food server with access to extra trays. During this time, I developed a friendship with a man named Sal, and discovered he was undergoing chemoradiation therapy. My mother had undergone chemo, and I knew the toll that it took on her body. Sal needed to keep his strength up, and I learned to look beyond myself, and I happily shared my extra trays with him so that he could keep his strength up. Sorry, I repeated myself. I used my time positively to develop myself and help other inmates around me. I've taken a number of male correspondence programs aimed at self-improvement. 4 inmates have written letters in support of my release. These are inmates I tutored in mathematics to help with their GEDs or with college classes. I've accumulated 30 good worker reports from various staff throughout the facility. One is from a captain who cites how I tried to start 2 programs to help the unsentenced inmate population. In the industry's job I have held, my mentorship continues. I've been able to put my extensive background in manufacturing to use by instructing everyone how to safely and properly use the equipment. Because of this, in less than 1 year, I've been promoted to the top position of clerk. I have completed the New Thoughts program here at McDougall. The class started with keeping a journal about our feelings, but the lessons built upon each other. We all learned how and why we acted as we shared different adversities and obstacles, as well as solutions for overcoming them. Here we started writing about ourselves and some petty problems, but we were able to trace them back and then recognize the origins. The biggest takeaway from this program was how everyone and everything in my life affected me, but then how I in turn affected everyone else beyond me. I took the anger management program here in the interest of self-improvement. The content focused on consciously creating a time gap between cause and effect in order to distance oneself from knee-jerk reactionary emotions, time to process events and think everything through. And the content of the program wasn't as poignant as what I observed. As we all shared our stories, I saw how people, blinded by anger and rage, ruined their lives in the blink of an eye. One participant in the class said it was over in 1.7 seconds, and that was all it took to change 3 lives forever. I have completed Voices, which covers property crime, violent crime, robbery, elderly abuse, sexual assault, and homicide, the causes, effects, the outreaches, secondary and tertiary effects, and the long-lasting effects. When Parole Liaison Torres asked if I wanted an October parole date, I refused because I wanted to have time to complete this powerful program. Counselor Muniz said the main point of Voices is to illustrate how we're all victims in some type of way, and this program demonstrated just that. My future goals include finishing the bachelor's degree I started prior to COVID. I had been taking 1 class per semester up until March of 2020 when the university was shut down. I'm looking forward to learning new skills and finding more opportunities for gainful employment when released. I'm even considering opening my own business in aerospace manufacturing, and some of my friends have looked up the necessary certifications and how to obtain them. I have a plan in place for re-entry, including several contingency plans. My uncle has offered me a place to live and the use of his vehicle. In the event that falls through, there are several other offers in writing in the letters of recommendation there for housing. My Aunt Jean has offered me the use of her car. I have job offers in writing and several other offers in my letters. My friend Art bought me a phone. He saved all my clothes from my house when we cleaned it out, and he renewed my driver's license for me. I have a large support system of friends and family who are all local and willing to help and assist me. And I'm confident I have a clear understanding of what it will take to not be a risk factor in the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for that statement. We did receive all of the letters and evaluations that you mentioned and read them all. We do have some questions for you. Okay, when we're done with our questions, we'll deliberate and give you our decision here today. We'll begin with my colleague, Ms. Berry.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Mastriani, for preparing that statement. You talked a lot about what you've learned since you've been in prison, and you also spoke a lot about how your crimes impacted your family, and I can understand how it would have a significant impact on them. Let's talk a little bit about how you started making these guns. Share with us of that. How did you get into this?
I was in aerospace manufacturing. I was a DoD contractor, and we were also making parts for the commercial sector for Boeing. And when COVID hit, air travel took a sharp decline because nobody could travel. And then the company branched out to make parts. We were entertaining contracts for Lone Wolf, which is a company in Massachusetts, Troy Firearms, and Sig Sauer. My job was to get a blueprint and figure out how to make the part.
Okay. So how did your making the part turn into your making guns?
Oh, we were making firearm parts, and it was just a small leap from there because all the blueprints were accessible. Everything was accessible there.
Okay. So you told the officer that you were basically doing this to get a promotion?
Yeah, we were, like I said, the commercial sector was down. We were opening up another division that was going to be strictly for firearms manufacturing.
Hmm.
And I wanted to impress my manager with my knowledge and skill set. In the past, I had worked for a class 0207 manufacturer before.
Mm-hmm.
And I just hyped myself up to try and appear as if I knew everything. The parlance would be the contractor stroke. I basically walked in and told him I know how to do everything because I wanted
Okay,
the promotion.
but I'm Mr. Mastriani, okay, I understand that, but you went from trying to impress your boss. You made it seem as if your boss was the catalyst of your manufacturing and in selling these guns, and that was not the case. So, I mean, it may have started as, let's see how we can incorporate this piece or whatever the case may be, but then you took it a step further and started making your own weapons, and automatic submachine gun, AR rifles, 19 large capacity magazines. Like how much money did you get for that stuff?
I didn't take any money. My manager started threatening me and my family. That's all noted in my affidavit. And rather than tell the police, I just capitulated.
So you took the rap for your boss? Is that what you're telling us?
No, I met with his friend, who I later discovered was a confidential an undercover. And he had asked me to deliver guns from work to him, and I did.
Okay. And how much were you supposed to get for it, though?
There was never any negotiation for price.
So, wow.
I just showed up and gave him the guns, and when I did that, I lost accountability and traceability of them.
And tell me what did you think this person was going to do with all these weapons?
I didn't think beyond the immediate.
So
I didn't have the tools in my toolbox to have that foresight.
Well, you seem very intelligent, Mr. Mastriani, and you see what weapons do. So weapons on the street without serial numbers, what do you think people are, who needs guns without the serial numbers on them? Most of the time, criminals, right?
Yes.
So I'm trying to figure out what you thought this person was going to do with this amount of weapons.
I didn't know. I didn't give any thought to what he was going to do with them.
You know, I mean, honestly, I'm happy that it was an undercover police officer, because we have so much violence in our communities already, with guns that are already stolen, and people try to remove the serial number so they won't be tracked. I mean, every other day, or every day, should I say, people lose their lives because of guns, gun violence running rampant in our communities. And you could have contributed to that. We don't know. This is the stuff that we know was recovered. We don't know about the stuff that may have been, not, did you sell any of them to anyone else prior to this
I
all
never
happening?
sold a firearm in my life, not illegally nor illegally, prior to this event.
So, and you still want to try to go back to working as a master toolman or something?
As a machinist, it's my trade. It's what I've
It's still
dedicated
scary.
my life.
With this kind of conviction, do you think that that would be in your best interest? I mean, I understand it's probably lucrative. It is lucrative, but I mean, given your history, to know that you're returning back to something that could potentially lead to you doing this again is concerning.
Well, I'd be prohibited from being anywhere near firearms as a felon. And now that COVID is a thing of the past, aerospace is a safe field to return to. There's other forms of manufacturing, not just firearms. There's automotive.
No, I understand that. I understand that. You started out with the aerospace part. So it's just, this is all so concerning. I just think about the repercussions of all this arson and stuff just getting into the wrong person's hands in the continuation of violence, I understand that this is your only conviction, that you have got a lot of stuff nollied, a whole bunch of it. And I'm just glad that no one was hurt from this. I heard about your release plan. I saw the programs that you participated in. I heard what you learned about in those programs. So I think I'm done with my questions. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Keys?
I don't think I have any questions either. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I mean, you've done well, sir. It's very clear that you have learned something from this whole experience. No disciplinary reports. You've done programs, been really trying to get into programs and work. And we did read all of the excellent evaluations for your work inside and all of the support in the community. Certainly hope we won't see you back here, but give us a few minutes to discuss your case, sir, and we'll come back to you shortly with our decision. Ms. Berry.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I honestly came into this hearing with a question mark for my decision. I voiced my concerns with Mr. Mastriani, and the concerns still remain. I do, however, believe that given that he has participated in programs, he's considered a low risk to recidivate, and he has demonstrated adequate, appropriate institutional adjustment. I could support discretionary parole. I think the volume of weapons that was being manufactured is what is so concerning to me. So I would support some discretionary parole.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, and well, of course it is concerning. I think he got caught up in something larger than himself and, quickly got out of control. That's what happens when we use our skills for bad. But no criminal history, and, he does have a whole lot of support. He's a low risk on our risk assessments to reoffend. So I would be willing to support it as well. Ms. Keys?
I agree. Thank you.
All right. I have standard parole conditions. Is there anything you want to add?
That's what I had as well.
All right, very good. In the matter of Stephen Mastriani, MA number 439863, I'll move to grant parole. It's on or after, of course, effective today, November 26, 2025, with standard parole conditions. You get a list of them to sign off on. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, thank you for your time and have a happy Thanksgiving.
All right, we wish you the
Thank
best,
you.
sir.
You too.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
This concludes the hearing for Stephen Mastriani.
Who else is stunned? I mean, the parole board, it's Connecticut. Okay, it's my mind, it's scrambled. It really is. I thought that Connecticut would go so hard on a man like this. I thought that they would take someone like this and send a message. You don't do this in our state. I mean, he was literally found with 125 firearms. Now, 31 of them were legally registered to him, but the remainder were not. And look, I'm a Second Amendment guy. I like to carry my 9. I have my own little collection. Okay, I want to set the record straight. I love firearms. I love it. You know, that's the thing. That's the gift that I like to buy myself. What should I get this time? Type of thing. But when this is not that. This is a man who is manufacturing firearms, explosives, 50,000 rounds of ammunition they found on him. And hey, you know, I mean, ammunition's expensive. Gosh almighty, maybe he was making it himself, but you don't just have a massive collection like that unless you're selling it. I mean, you might be, maybe you're like a doomer person, a doomsday person. You might save up 50,000 rounds of ammunition, but when there's smoke, there's fire, and I just don't believe it. And here they are. I'll go through the articles, and look, before I asked Sir Rich, I said, Sir Rich, can I please get your opinion on this? Like, did they set him up? Did they set up a trap? You know, did they encourage, did they try to create a felon where there wasn't one? And Sir Richard does not believe that. He thinks, you know, they came in with a tip that they're doing something. They did a 10-month investigation, and then he sits here today and he says, I've never sold it. It's my boss's fault. And I wish I could find information to share with you to say, you know, but do you really think, let me just put it this way. Do you really think that they would have a 10-month investigation and they would transfer firearms and not have him collect the cash? Do you really think that they would do that? I just don't buy it. We are so accustomed to seeing criminals get up here and lie. And like, you know, if this is your first parole hearing, you might say, okay, I believe him. Maybe it was a horrible investigation. Maybe they collected the cash from his boss and they arrested his boss. But I don't see any reports of that. I don't see any other arrests in the record. Sir Richard couldn't find it. This seems to be the only, and his boss wasn't arrested. We don't see that. I mean, maybe they're ratting on each other. Maybe someone became a snitch. Maybe they caught someone bigger. Maybe that all happened, but I just don't buy it. I am too jaded. I have seen too often, we have seen too often, where people get up and they lie through their teeth about everything. And you have to, I mean, in my opinion, there's only 2 options here. His story is so pathetic and so bad. Oh, my boss, I was trying to impress my boss. Really? So you're going to go through like this guy who's sitting there on the parole board hearing, like he had this chip on his shoulder. He was talking, in my opinion, with an attitude where he was looking down at the parole board members. He's so smart. He's so brilliant. He's so sophisticated. He doesn't need to even answer them. You know what? And it's like, but he was also this man, you know, who basically had Fort Knox in his house, a mini arsenal. He could have probably more arms and ammunition than the Connecticut Home Guard, right? And yet he was bullied. This man was bullied by his boss to take his sweat, blood, toil, and tears to manufacture guns to give to someone. That's a believable story. So, like, again, either you believe his story, which I don't think you can, but that means the parole board did, or I don't know, there's some informant stuff going on and he just had to make up a story, but I'm not giving him that kind of credit. I don't buy that either. It's just what it is. It's weird because I say agenda driven judges and DAs now versus weak. But you would think like Connecticut would throw this is the case that DAs, district attorneys, you would think would just love. This was a slam dunk case. The amount of resources in a 10-month investigation, they caught him with 125 firearms. About 90 of them were not registered to him. A large amount of them were missing serial numbers. Other were just illegal to have in Connecticut, period. Every large capacity magazine, I don't have the legislation in front of me, but they had enough to lock him away for probably like 10 lifetimes. It's a slam dunk case. They found it with the search warrant in his home. He would never see the light of day. And yet they give this plea deal that is so strange. It does, in my mind, I still have to think that there's something more going on because I can't wrap my mind around how a DA would not make this case, the case that makes his career. No plea deal. We're going to trial. I want the news talking about this. I want to send them away for 100 lifetimes. Forget the chomos. Forget the stalkers. Forget the vehicular homicide, DUI people. This guy, he's making guns in our state. You're never going to see the light of day again. And they didn't do it. Instead, they give him a 7-year maximum sentence. He was sentenced 8/28/2024, literally a year and 2 months before this parole hearing. He was sentenced. He was held on $500,000 bond, which is not even that much. You would think someone with with all those guns. Gosh, I mean, it was maybe all his money was just poured into it. But you would think someone of his age, he's never had worked his whole life, doesn't have not putting kids through school, that he'd be able to have some type of assets to get himself on 500,000 bond. I mean, unless he needed cash, like he couldn't get a bail bondman. I don't know, but it seems he was probably in jail for a bunch of it because it was 4/12/2022, and 7-year maximum sentence. I mean, are you even, let's just, if you're curious about what he could have gotten, let me just look it up. Okay, let's see if this says this without me being logged in. How many years would this man face in the state of Connecticut for the following charges? Who else always struggles with spelling Connecticut? Let's just see. Okay, firearm trafficking is 1 to 20 years. So they could have gone 20 years that. Sale of assault weapons, penalty for each count is 1 to 5 years. He has 9 counts. That's 45 years. Okay. Don't you love AI? Possession of assault weapon, it's 1 to 5 years. And okay, those Penwoods can He had 9 counts illegal transfer of a long gun, which is 1 to 5 years. This is 45 years if served consecutively. 19 counts of the large sale magazine. Penalty each one is 1 to 5 years. 19 counts is 95 years. See, I wasn't exaggerating. Possession of a machine gun. You know, a 30 caliber belt fed machine gun. I guess he wasn't selling it. But I get it. I would love to own a 30 caliber belt-fed machine gun. But if he would have sold it to someone and that person goes and gets the suite at a hotel somewhere, and so, I mean, you just can't even imagine the carnage. Penalty possessing a machine gun is 1 to 20 years. Okay. Weapon in a motor vehicle, he had 9 counts, I guess, for when he transported it for the sale. That makes sense. 45 years. Illegal transfer of manufactured firearm without a serial number, the ghost gun. They don't like you having ghost guns. It's 1 to 5 years. So let's see, all added up. Total sentencing if the charges were consecutive without the possibility of with concurrent sentences. A total amount of time individual faced in a range of 47 years to 315 years. Ladies and gentlemen, I was not exaggerating at all. So the judge or the district attorney, the amount of money that they invest into this 10 months, I can't imagine what 10 months would cost. Let's just see. Let's see if AI even knows. Okay, the investigation to get him locked up took 10 months and included multiple agencies. How much do you think it cost to run the investigation and go through the legal stuff? Okay, I'm seeing my spell's not that great. I'm curious how this even will say it. They break it down. Look how they break this down. For example, 5 investigators working full time, 40 hours a week for 10 months for roughly 40 weeks at an average of $75,000 per year is 5 investigators, $187,500. Let's see. They go through all of it, and they'll just give me. Obviously this is totally random, but total estimated investigation and legal cost. Personnel, 400 grand. Surveillance, 200,000. Collaborating between agencies, 150,000. Cost of legal, 300,000. Miscellaneous costs, 100,000. Estimated 1.15 to 1.3 million dollars. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Mandalorians, the state of Connecticut invested at least $1 million cash. That's not to mention all of the other things they couldn't invest, these people investigating other people, blah blah blah. And they concluded that a plea deal where he will end up serving just half of his 7 years, 3.5 years, was worth over $1 million. They didn't want to send a message. They didn't want retribution. They didn't want, it's just a waste. Maybe some folks got promotions, maybe, but this is disgusting. Do you really think that he never sold a firearm illegally? And he's just acting like I never thought about it. I was innocent. My boss made me do it. But if you are going to go as far as to sell firearms without VIN numbers or just firearms in general, you're selling it to bad guys who have intent to kill. He's not. There's certain things that he was doing that you just say he's really dumb. For one thing, he had a license. He has somehow had a carry permit in Connecticut, and when they arrested him, he was carrying a ghost gun. That's just like when you just take a step back and think about that for a split second. Why would you do that? That means if you now have to use your weapon, you are going to get arrested because it's a ghost gun. Who would carry a ghost gun unless you have intent to do something sketchy, or you're just really dumb and you think it's cool? This is our leaders, people who run our states. There really are just a bunch of clowns. When you start to dive into it, you go under the hood, you realize we're just dealing with clowns. So, following his arrest, search warrants executed the residence and several of his vehicles. As a result of the search warrant, state police seized more than 150 items of evidence, including 125 firearms, as well as components capable of making fully automatic. These firearms include multiple fully automatic firearms, semi-automatic firearms, shotguns, pistols with threaded barrels. That's so you can put a suppressor on it. Hundreds of high-capacity, aka silencer capacity magazines, and 30 to 40,000 rounds of ammunition. And I got to tell you, even if you're making the ammunition, if this is depending on the size, I know because I own any ammunition in this day and age. Oh my gosh, it's expensive, especially during COVID when everybody was buying up everything. Also seized was a high-tech 3D printer along with pistol, lower receiver that appears to be made in a printer. The vast majority of these weapons are considered ghost guns as part of the investigation. Phones, computers, flash drives that were in the vicinity of 3D printer were also seized. 3 homemade explosives, because everybody needs a homemade explosive, were also found in the residence. The Connecticut State Bomb Squad was on the scene and disposed of the devices. Just the bomb squad cost was probably like 25 grand. You know, they come with these random ridiculous numbers. The investigation of members of Connecticut State Police Special Investigation, part of a collaborative effort, is several blah, 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 shut up. They're so proud of themselves out of all the different bureaus that got involved in taking this guy down so he could be out on the street. It's funny. This is like, it's almost like an M1 Grand looking thing. That, I think that was right here is what makes it look M1 Grandish, right? But it's too small. No, it's not too small. I wonder, I know it, those gun enthusiasts in here. And then you have like the AK-47 style rifle. And these little guns. This is almost like, I have a gun like a shotgun like this, Mossberg. It's like a Mossberg, what mine is what's it called? I'm forgetting it now. A Mossberg something. It's really cool. I would keep it in my glove compartment in my RV. Anyways, so yeah, there's all this like nice little collection of random. He's like a lot of crappy looking stuff. And then there's a 30 cal machine gun. There we go. Here's the good stuff right here. There's like hunting rifles, AR style rifles. Let's see. Some good looking stuff. Is that a Galil? Look at that. That's like that actually might be authentic Vietnam era M16 right there. On the yeah, you can see my mouse. It's like it's just a random mix of stuff, you know? Maybe that's one of his homemade things right there. What is that? And here's our prince. He doesn't look like he, is dangerous at all. But he did grow out his hair since then. It's grown out real nice. So, what do you guys think? I don't know. This one blows my mind. I thought, out of all cases, they would throw the book at him in this one. I thought they would deny parole. It's just because, like, I have a certain perspective how Connecticut would treat this type of crime, and they blew my mind. I just don't think, and I guess maybe this just does go to the agenda. They just want to empty prisons. I don't know what it is, but let me know what you think. Do you think that there's more to this? Do you think that this was some part of some crazy plea deal and they have some, because the DA didn't object, and we have seen very rarely, but the DA will write a letter. They don't show up for these parole hearings, only Act 23, 169 hearings, but they'll write a letter. Sometimes a parole board would say, hey, the DA objected. Maybe do you think that he was involved in something else and they gave him a slap on the wrist sentence? I still have a hard time seeing that. You let me know what you think. And with that,
So what was your frame of mind at that time? What would possess you to put a gun to someone's head over $10?
At the time, my mind wasn't right. You know what I mean? I was going through some things. And then not only that, I got blamed in the trial for that situation. I lost trial, I blew trial.
Well, why did you go to trial? Let's talk about that. Why did you go to trial?
some of you might remember this hearing, and I'm telling you, this is not just a repeat upload. There is a reason that we are playing it again. Let me start with that, and I'll leave the suspense for you to find out. So, hey, anyways, with that, let's jump in.
Please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Tyree Jackson, 259-678.
This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Tyree Jackson, inmate number 259-678. He is serving a sentence of 20 years execution suspended after 17 years with 5 years probation for attempted murder,
assault first, criminal possession of a firearm, and intimidating a witness. As of today, records reflect the parole eligibility date of August 30th, 2024. There is no victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender that has been reviewed and shown the offender has completed the following programs. Mr. Jackson has maintained employment throughout incarceration and worked as a CNA during this period of incarceration in Bridgeport as for correctional assistant. He has completed Tier 2, Embracing Fatherhood, Voices, Culinary Arts Certificate, and PCA Certificate. Utilizing the statewide collaborative funding evaluation system, the offender will walk forward on the party falls within the low range of risk of recidivism. This is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin, Mr. Jackson.
How you doing? I should be granted parole. I changed all the way around. I did all my programs. I was ticket free 11 years. I've been working hard. I follow all the rules in DOC. I'm just asking the board of parole just to give me a chance. Because I've been going away for so long. I just like to be with my family, and I got remorse for the victim as well. The victim, I got remorse, and I'm just ready to be with my family. I take all responsibility for my actions, and I'm just asking the board again is just give me a chance to be with my family and be back into society again and give back to the community. And
go ahead.
And just give me a chance where I can do my training at the PCA, just be able to step out and have a job out there and hit the ground running and just being successful. And once again, it got remorse on the victim. The victim counts. And I learned my lesson. And that's pretty much what I got for now.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. We're going to ask you some questions, okay? And then we'll deliberate and give you our decision.
All right, thank you.
So you mentioned the victim. Have you thought about what the victim might have gone through, during and after, since, as a result of your actions?
Yes, I know. It was bad, but
I mean, this was crazy. Over $10.
Yeah, it was a bad impact on the victim. That's what my heart goes out to, more the victim, worrying about that victim.
I mean, that's some scary stuff to have a gun put to your head and then go off. Your victim probably thought they were going to die. And you're very lucky to be here because you missed. Obviously, you didn't shoot the victim in the head, or you wouldn't be before us for a parole hearing. Have you thought about that?
I think about everything. The past years I've been here, everything reflects on me. I think about everything, the victim family, my family, and things that have been done that wasn't right.
So what was your frame of mind at that time? What would possess you to put a gun to someone's head over $10?
At the time, my mind wasn't right. You know what I mean? I was going through some things. Not only that, I got blamed in the trial for that situation. I lost trial, I blew trial.
Well, why did you go to trial? Let's talk about that. Why did you go to trial?
Why did I go to trial? Because I got blamed for something that, they said I didn't do.
What was that?
I got blamed for saying that somebody got shot in the face with a shotgun.
I'm confused. I'm so confused. So you're talking about a different case here?
No, the same case. I'm saying that's how I got the time that I got. I blew trial. I got accused, falsely accused.
So you're saying that you didn't put a gun to someone's head over $10 of drug money?
I ain't saying that. I'm not saying that I didn't. I'm just saying it was just a situation where I knew it just wasn't right. And I'm not saying I didn't have a weapon that nobody had. I never said that.
Yeah, so I guess I'm not understanding your point, sir. I guess I can ask you more directly.
Yeah.
Did you put a gun to this victim's head over a bad $10 drug deal?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so then why did you take the case to trial?
At the time, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. I was in a bad area. You know, I sat these years. I'm a changed person. I'm not the same person.
I understand. You said that. Okay. So were you not ready to take responsibility at that time? Is that why you went to trial?
I was ready. At the time, yeah, you could say that. I wasn't. You could say.
Huh. Okay. And then you went on to send letters to witness from prison. Why did you do that?
Letters from prison?
Yeah, you sent letters to one of the witnesses.
Yep.
Because you didn't want them to testify. Did you know that you're not allowed to do that?
I didn't know at the time.
But you were kind of threatening, in those letters, and you were intimidating a witness.
It happened. I'm telling the truth.
I'm glad. I want you to tell the truth. No, definitely. I mean, you've obviously come a long way since then, right? You've been incarcerated. You've been incarcerated for years now. And last year, you got a sentence modification. You got your sentence lowered from 20 to 17 years because the court recognized your efforts. You've been doing well. You've taken good programs, Tier 2, Embracing Fatherhood, Voices. You got some certificates, culinary arts, PCA. And you did some work as a CNA. How long did you do that?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. So you were taking care of some sick people, right? In the facility?
Yes. A few people that I experienced throughout these years, that the inmates that's really, really sick, that got cancer, I took care of them the most. And a few inmates died on me that I was close to. And I took care of. I never really experienced nothing like that in life. And that was my changeover on giving back and just staying focused on helping them people out by giving back, doing what's right.
Good. Yeah, I'm happy to see that you did give back because you certainly did take from the community. You're working as a tierman now, right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, really, in all these years, no tickets. You just had the one 10 years ago for refusing housing, nothing major. So that's great. And this is your first incarceration. So you can certainly overcome this, sir, and we want you to do that. You can't go back to selling drugs. So what's your plan for work when you get out?
My plan for work is I took the CNA's course, and I'm planning on getting in that medical field and using the potential to get where I need to be in life.
And then you're giving back, and we really need the help in the medical field right now. So, and then it's a great career path.
Yeah, it ain't too many males who's doing that, and I'm willing to do that when I get out there because I know it's good money in that. Definitely is.
And you want to go live with your sister, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have other positive supports in the community?
Yes, like I got my sister, my mother. I got I'm also a grandfather. I got a grandson that's 2 years old. My daughter. I'm just ready to get back to the family because I've been gone for quite some time, and I asking the Board of Parole just to give me a chance. That's pretty much what we at.
Thank you for answering my questions. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Palmieri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Jackson, you mentioned a couple of times that you're remorseful, you feel remorse. What does it mean to be remorseful? What do you think that means?
Remorseful is me it's for the victim that it's a mistake that happened here, and that I learned from it, and not go back out there to the same thing, trying to do it again and repeat it. You know what I'm saying? That's remorseful. I'm remorseful. My heart goes to the victim because it shouldn't have been done. I understand, and I learned from that mistake, and I have to put myself in these type of situations again.
Excellent. And I'm going to just say, that you really have two victims, right? You have the victim with the firearm, but the victim from the witness intimidation is also a victim. Very often the police need people to speak up in the community to help keep the community safe. You just mentioned you have children, grandchildren, without people who have the courage to speak up, the neighborhoods are going to be, like the wild, wild west.
Yes,
right?
that's why. Yes, that's why I say give back to the community. I'm willing to do whatever, even if it's the helping the kids, talking to them so they won't go down that road, being positive. At least if I can't get 20, I can at least get 1 or 2 to listen.
Excellent. And we hear a lot of people tell us that. I'm hopeful because you have spent a long time in jail, a good part of that you will be able to, that you will make it an effort to go out and give back, even if it's just for that one young person, right? I think, and giving back as a CNA is also a great way to do that. As the chair said, the medical profession is struggling for help, and CNAs specifically.
Especially to the sick and the elderly. That's what my heart go out to. I want to help them as much as I can and just take care of them, treat them right, make sure they eating proper, they getting the nourishments that they need in life. Because they don't be having too much long to go. So I want to be there to be like, well, you know what? I took care of such and such for so many years that I made sure they was all right or she was all right. You know what I mean? By doing the right thing.
And by doing the right thing, you'll be paying it forward, right? You'll be showing remorse and letting the victims in your case know that you are a different person.
Yes, that I changed.
All right. Well done. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you,
Madam Chair.
All right. Give us a few minutes to talk about your case, and we're going to give you our decision real soon, okay?
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Jackson's been incarcerated over 12 years now, and he's taken good programs. He's worked the whole time, did some CNA work, and got some skills that he can carry out into the community. He hasn't been a disciplinary problem, and I think he could certainly benefit given that he's been down so long from some parole supervision in the community. I'd be in favor of granting. He has a good release plan too. Ms. Palmieri?
I would agree with all of that, Madam Chair.
All right, I have, there's 2 victims and co-defendant. Anything further?
Nothing else.
All right. In the matter of Tyria Jackson, inmate number 259678. I'll move to grant parole effective August 30th, 2024 with the following conditions. You're to have no contact with your victim, initials MGU, a general no contact with the victim of the intimidation of witness, initials UL, and no contact with your co-defendant, Juan Carlos Cardona. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, sir, you'll get this in writing. Do you understand?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for y'all giving me a chance.
We wish you the best.
I have
Keep
a blessed day.
hard, okay? Go give back.
All right. Thank you.
Horrible opening statement, insists that he is innocent, but hey, he does have a good prison record. So I think, as Dr. Grande says, if there is one thing for certain, it's that we will never see Mr. Jackson again.
Morning, Mr. Jackson.
How you doing? All right?
Good, how are you?
All right.
So I know you requested an attorney and they sent you paperwork. Do you want to continue this hearing until you're appointed counsel, or do you want to continue without counsel today?
No, I sent them the paperwork. I filled it out and sent it back in the envelope it came in.
Okay, so you didn't get a sign yet. Obviously, they didn't get it. If you already sent it back, they just didn't get it yet. So do you want to continue your hearing to another day until they contact you, or do you want to go forward today without attorney?
Nah, I'll continue it until I get my attorney.
Okay, so my next hearing date, because they should be in contact with you soon then if you sent it back. So I will put you on for the 20th of next week. That's my next hearing date.
The 20th of next week.
Yes.
And I should have my attorney to represent me by then?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't and you didn't hear anything or I didn't hear anything, then we can continue it again, but
All right.
I'll get my next hearing date is the 20th, so.
I sent, go ahead, yeah, go ahead. I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I sent it back and I put it in the envelope that it came in, the mailing envelope, but I didn't put my inmate number or nothing. I just got the return address. I filled it all out though. Then my lawyer gave me another one yesterday because I had court yesterday. So I'm gonna also send that one back too. I don't need two of them, but just in case. You know what I mean?
Well, are you getting a private attorney or are you applying for a public defender?
No, I'm applying for a public defender for the revoke hearing.
Do you want one for the rev hearing and for this hearing?
Oh, see, it's two of them. Yeah, so all right, yeah, I want one for this one, and I want one for the other one
Like
too.
because this is the prelim hearing, and then if it moves forward, you go to a rev hearing.
Oh, see, I didn't know. Okay, so
So you want one for both?
Yeah, you think that? So I'm all right with one for both?
Well, yeah, if you get assigned a public defender, they'll do both hearings.
All right, but it'd be two different lawyers, right? It'd be the attorney.
No.
Oh,
Whoever you get assigned for if you get a public defender, they're gonna do both hearings with you.
Oh yeah, I got a public defender. So she just gave me the paperwork in court yesterday, but I told her I didn't get a chance to tell her that I already filled it out.
Okay. Let me go on the record. I'm gonna continue your case. Okay.
All right.
All right. So we're here with Jackson Tyria, number 259678. Today is August 12th, 2025. I'm a hearing examiner, P.O. Meisinger, and this is a preliminary hearing. And you are requesting a continuance. My next hearing date is August 20th, 2025, so that you can obtain counsel. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll grant the continuance, and I'll see you next week then. And you should hear from them by then, I believe. If not, we'll come back and we'll continue again. Okay?
All right. Thank you. Yes.
All right. You're all set.
All right.
Okay, so let me break down what just happened. So he did not end up having that next hearing with the attorney. They actually waived it to see what would happen in court. He just said, I don't even want to go through the revocation. Let's see what will happen. And what happened is actually this just got settled recently. It just got, the verdict came in as of October 15, 2025. I'm recording this November 2025. And he got assault third, interference with an emergency call, reckless endangerment second degree, breach of peace second degree. Now keep in mind, these are what they settled for. These are plea deals. They're all Class A or Class B misdemeanors. As you can imagine, it could have easily been a felony, as what we've seen in basically everywhere. They always drop charges. Everything was unconditional discharge for a sentence, except for the assault third, which he got 364 days in jail. Now, it made sense for him not to say, don't revoke, because he got this new sentence, but it becomes a twofer, a bonus, a freebie. We see this all the time. You see, he's only coming back on his existing sentence. It's my understanding, I have nothing meant to make me believe that this is going to be running as additional time. He's just coming back on his existing sentence, which runs through until 2027. So we probably are going to see him come up for another parole hearing, probably in like a year, to be fair. And, it doesn't, I don't know, it's just a bit of a gimmick. It's what it is. And I think what they do with this also, I don't know if they consider it a revocation or how they put it in their books in terms of data, right? And I wish I knew the answer for that, because a lot of this data is manipulated. It's manipulated by those who are in charge of collecting the data, who have an agenda, who have a certain story to tell. My point is do they consider this as a failed parole, or do they consider this as, I don't know how you cannot consider it as a failed parole, I guess, but I guess I digress. I hope we get what I'm trying to say, without being able to quite put my finger on how to say it. But anyways, he didn't last very long. he lasted when he caught these charges. He caught these charges 6/26/2025. So I think he lasted a total of, let me just double check this really quick here on my dashboard. He would have lasted, here it is. Hold on one second. Let me pull it up. Oh. I think he lasted 2 full days. I mean, I see that I initially uploaded his parole hearing on June 24th, 2024, and his offense date is June 26th, 2025. Sorry, so a year, my bad. A year and 2 days. Okay, all right. I mean, better than 2 days. Anyways, and one last thing, something that I want to do for future hearings that we've covered is go through some of the comments. Now, this was a members only video, so we're not going to have that many comments to go through, but I do think it's interesting to see what the consensus is. So Freddie says, what the hell, shaking my head, $10. We also have, I want to help. Here it is. I want to help that first man somehow. He has a good heart. And I got to tell you, when I first started watching these parole hearings, I was also always looking to see the good in people. And then you start to learn, you become jaded when you see that he's literally assaulting someone and causing more pain and damage. This is something that, you really have to see. You have to see these parole hearings to begin to understand at a deeper level. Terribly rehearsed. I like him. I was using for years and years. Giving back is the most amazing thing. It changes lives. It becomes a DNA to give back. I became a CNA to give back. The only flaw in this is it's hard to become a CNA with a felony. So again, and I know that the problem that I had too, and I think a lot of us, is that we like to project. We see ourselves and other people, and it's the craziest thing. But it took a minute until he was harming people again, and again, this is why these parole hearings are so powerful. Nice rehearsal, 8:38, and it was this point I knew they were releasing him. Well, you're right, and he came back. He wasn't denying his crime. He was denying that he shot someone because they were accusing him of shooting the victim, but he didn't hit him. Also, if he had had a shotgun to a person's head and his intention was actually shoot him, then he would have blown his brains out. Having a shotgun to someone's head isn't going to miss if they are wanting to you shot. This is what he was denying. He was that he actually shot him when he didn't. He held it to his head though, and the gun did go off, but not sure how that worked considering the victim wasn't hit. I pray that the victim went straight and still doing good. I hope that he scared him to go on track and get out of that life. And I hear what you're saying. Of course, you can't miss with a shotgun to someone's head. So I guess they have a good point here. I don't disagree, but as you can see, he came right back, which is just crazy. With his record, he may not be able to be a nurse. No, he will not. I got an expungement, but the crime was 20 years before. Good for you for going through the whole process, Nancy. Dang, juicy. What? This was an interesting one. He didn't have the best interview, and he still doesn't quite take responsibility for the crime. However, he's done a lot since being incarcerated. Hopefully, he does well in the future, and well, we just saw him in the future. I'm trying to catch up with the uploads I've missed. Thank you for keeping Mr. Richard. And hello. So yeah, I mean, it was kind of like mixed consensus. It was kind of how I felt too. But again, as you see these parole hearings, we become more and more jaded because it's like, it's like when you release someone who commits violence and then they go out there and they commit more violence. It's like I just feel stupid. I feel tricked. I feel, well, what if he had killed someone? And who knows? Again, those were plea deal down misdemeanors. It's like, you just wonder how bad it actually was. What was it? What happened? What kind of violence? And we never got to see it because the revocation hearing was waived, but you can only guess. And he's going to get out soon. We'll probably see him again. Check out the Return of playlist.
Yes, that's why I say give back to the community. I'm willing to do whatever, even if it's the helping the kids, talking to them so they won't go down that road, being positive. At least if I can't get 20, I can at least get 1 or 2 to listen.
Excellent. And we hear a lot of people tell us that. I'm hopeful because you have spent a long time in jail, a good part of your, that you will be able to, that you will make it an effort to go out and give back